Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm excited for this one because I'm going to do a lineup of some pretty top shelf Irish whiskeys. A big shout out to Mike. Thank you so much for sending these samples in to me. Very appreciative to you. Otherwise, I doubt I really would have tried these. I like Irish whiskeys, but I don't really go out of my way to get more than one bottle at a time on my shelf. So the one bottle that I do have is a Redbreast 12 year. I'm a big fan of Redbreast. I think Redbreast is delicious. And as it turns out, the samples that Mike sent in are made by the same distillery. So this is Middleton. These are all going to be Middleton products, but they own Jameson, Redbreast as well, the Spots, Green Spot, all the Spots. But these are going to be some pretty top shelf sips today. And I'm going to see if they can win me over as somebody who has been used to having really high quality bourbons and ryes. That's sort of my forte. That's what I really love. So we're going to see if the best coming out of Ireland, we'll see if they're pretty good too. So I'm going to go ahead and get these poured, and then I'll tell you what's in each of these glasses. And we'll see which one I like the most and how it stacks up. Okay, these are all poured. So what we have here is a pretty interesting lineup of Irish whiskeys. The first one that we're going to start with is Middleton Very Rare Vintage 2020. So this is like celebrating an anniversary and previous distillers, all that stuff. It's sort of a commemorative bottle. And it's a $200 MSRP was the going rate for this bottle. And when you got a Very Rare from Middleton, my understanding was that you'd get a box, and you'd open up the box, and inside that box was a bag. So you'd open up that bag, and you'd take out a box, and then you would open up that box like swinging out French doors, right? It wasn't just like grab the side and open it like a standard door. It's like it came out like this, and there is your bottle of Middleton Very Rare. And I think they had some challenges with the boxing because they wanted to make one box for all their bottles, but the sizes of the bottles were different if you were in Europe or if you were in America, because obviously we do like 750 milliliters in a bottle, they do 700. So with the Europe ones, they had to like put spacers in to keep the bottle in place. Interesting stuff. So this is a blend of Irish whiskeys, and we'll see how it stacks up. I might take some notes on these actually as I'm tasting them. Okay, so on the nose of the Very Rare Vintage Blend, first thing that comes to mind is a nice soft apple, like a honey crisp or something. Speaking of honey, I also get some honey on the nose. And biscuits. Very bright, very inviting nose. A little bit of oats and nuts on the nose as well. Very nice. Let's try it. Cheers. It's very soft, very delicate. Some light honey up front on the palate, followed by some of those savory notes like those biscuits, maybe even some pound cake, like a sweet bread of some kind. The finish has a little bit of spice to it, but it's more floral with dark chocolates. Yeah, it's an interesting progression. It starts off very soft, very delicate. Then you get a little bit of that sweet and savory, the bread, the sugar, ends on that dark chocolates, and a bit of a floral quality. I mean, there's really nothing about that you could dislike, to be honest. Nothing offensive about it at all. I get a little bit more of like an oak presence on the very tail end of the finish, right before it walks out the door, than I'm used to getting on Irish whiskeys, which I like oak. That's quite tasty. All right, let's move on to the next one. This next one is Middleton Barry Crockett Legacy. This is a single pot stilled, so it's not a blend like the last one. And the MSRP for this one was $250. A little bit more pricey, climbing up in price, and that's kind of how these are going to go. They're going to keep climbing as we progress through these in terms of price. That nose is quite a bit different than the last one. You get more sweet oak on the nose, also a little bit of cinnamon and brown sugar. Almost like you'd put on cinnamon toast, like cinnamon and sugar with a little bit of butter on a piece of toast. That's what the nose makes me think of. Buttered toast, cinnamon and sugar. I like that. The last one was a little bit softer on the nose, that honey, that apple. This one's just a little bit more assertive on the nose, which I do appreciate. A little sweet, little spicy combo going on here. Let's try it. Yeah, that one's much more assertive. Yeah, up front, a lot of that cinnamon and sugar comes through big and bold. A little bit of spice up front. as it tapers off, it transitions then into these really nice sweet notes. You get a lot of honey and oats on the tail end of the palate and then into the finish. That honey persists, a little bit of oak intermingling there on the finish. Just a faint hint of caramel on that palate too. Just something I'm not used to on an Irish, which could be due to the more influence from the oak that I'm getting. Yeah, so this one is maybe a little bit less delicate than the first one. The first one was a little bit more refined, just going for a nice balance, which I think that it achieved. This one's a little bit more forward, a little bit more aggressive with you. Not off-putting, but it's like, I know what I am, and you're going to get what you're going to get. And I think between the two, I prefer this one. Yeah, this one sort of almost bridges a gap between that soft, delicate, friendly Irish yumminess that you normally get and a little bit more of the cinnamon, assertion, and caramel that you get from a bourbon. And it kind of bridges that gap. I like that. And moving on to the last one, this is Middleton's Dare Ghaelach, sort of experimental. I'm told this is the rarest of the bunch. It also has an MSRP of $400. This is batch 1 and comes from the oak, comes from tree number 7. Yeah, that's how detailed they got with this experiment. These got more and more assertive as we went on. So much so, this one actually, as I'm sticking my nose in here to nose this, I actually start to feel a little bit of the burn on my eyes. Some heavy oak influence on this nose. And I'm trying to get underneath it. I'm trying to peel that layer back and find out what's under there. You know what I'm saying? But right now, it's like that upper layer of the oak is so dominant. I'm having a hard time peeling it back and finding what's underneath, other than ethanol, because I am getting that. All right, well let's give it a shot. I almost get like a milk and honey vibe, right? Creamy and sweet. Definitely, all the framing is oak. Right, there's no way around it. That is sort of the star of the show. The oak is there at the beginning. It's at the end, but right there in the middle, I get this like a creamy honey note. But it's pretty yummy. And then that finish really transitions pretty hard, takes a hard right turn into bitter chocolates and lots of tannic oak. But it's actually better than I expected. Is it $400 good? I probably wouldn't buy it. But that's just me. Okay, thinking back on these three, let's kind of bring it full circle back to the beginning of the video. First and foremost, how did I like them? First to last, best to worst. Well, I didn't dislike any of them, but I think I liked the second one the best. So that's the $250 Barry Crockett bottle, single pot still. I just liked that one had a really solid identity to it. And that cinnamon and sugar on, a buttered slice of toast, that note, really appealing to me. So that's going to take my first place. Second place then, I think is actually kind of tough. I think really the price point's going to be the only thing that's going to turn me off from the third one we tried. So I think second place is actually going to go to glass number 1, which was the vintage, very rare vintage. I just think that one had a lot of nice balance to it, right? You could tell that they took their time to try and make something that had a solid core identity. Nothing about it was offensive and nothing was out of place, right? So they achieved good balance with that one. And then I think third place is going to go to the last one we tried, the sort of experimental oak one. $400 is a steep ask, and I certainly understand it. A lot of times people will be like, I paid that much money for something that tastes like that, but you have to understand what goes into the process of making that. Obviously, there's a lot of money spent on the boxing, the branding, the tedious nature of specially choosing various types of oak from different locations and the kind of tracking that you have to do on all that stuff, as opposed to just call up your cooper on the phone and tell them, hey, I need this level of char on this many barrels, right? It's a little bit more intense than that. So because of all the investment to get that bottle to be what they wanted it to be, obviously they got to mark it up. So it's not that I don't understand the price tag, it's just that, is it worth that to me, the drinker? I don't think it would be. And then the last question, as somebody who drinks a lot of high top shelf bourbon, can this compete? Can this hang? I've always thought that Irish whiskey had its place at the table. It deserves a seat at the table because of what it brings to the table. It's friendly. It's yummy. Lots of those pound cake notes in my favorite Irish whiskeys. And I think that especially that second one, it brought a lot to the table that to be desired. It tried to sort of bridge the gap between those two worlds. You know, you get the honey in there, you get the breadiness in there and the pound cakes, but then you also get some of the caramel and the cinnamon that you often get with a lot of bourbons in you know, unused virgin charred oak barrels. So I think that it bridged those two worlds quite nicely. But I think that I would always be happy to have a pour of that anytime. Mike, thank you so much for sharing. This was a fun little deviation from the norm. I really appreciate that. Hey, if you want to send me samples, you want to talk about your favorite whiskeys, reach out via the Discord. There's a link in the description below. Totally free to join. And a big shout out to my Patreon supporters, because you guys are the reason that I have a whiskey budget every month to spend on bottles, to review here on the channel. You're why I get to keep the content flowing. So big shout out to y'all. Cheers, my friends. That was loud. May you live richly and get better with age. Be warm and well fed, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.